Hey guys, I wanted to make a somewhat response video to 7th level, but also explain some things to my viewers about me and first-person shooters and why it seems like I have such a strong hatred for this genre. First-person shooters for me is a genre that started out being fun but ended up getting real repetitive. When most people normally think of shooters and repetitiveness, they normally think of Call of Duty. But for me, repetitive when referring to first-person shooters has more to do with gameplay style itself. When I say I don't like Call of Duty, I'm not referring to Activision releasing the same game every year like a lot of other people are. I could care less about that. If you're a game developer and you come up with a style that works, then the dumbest thing you can do is change your game to the point that the main fan base you built up stopped liking the game because you took away the main feature that brought them to it. Now the reason why I titled this Why I Don't Like Shooters instead of Why Shooters Are Boring as All Fuck is because I know not everyone feels that way about it, and the 7th gaming generation proves this. Although what I should have titled this is Why I Don't Like First-Person Shooters Anymore. At the start of this generation I had no problem with them. I actually started out liking them, except for Halo. I don't know what it was about that game, but I just couldn't get into it. But one game I started off enjoying was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I didn't really see shooters as repetitive at the start of this generation because I hadn't played that many. From my perspective, at the start of this generation there were only two real shooters, Halo or Call of Duty. I hated Halo, so I was obviously going to pick Call of Duty. Once World at War came out, I didn't really care much for Call of Duty, as at the time I was rather enjoying Metal Gear Solid 4 and Little Big Planet. I didn't really hate shooters at this point. I was just more into these two. It actually wasn't until I heard about Killzone 2 that my interest in shooters came back. But at the same time, I also heard a lot of people talk about Modern Warfare 2. I didn't really want to get both games, so I just got Killzone 2. The game looked damn good. A lot better than Call of Duty did. But I didn't really enjoy it the same way. I didn't really know what it was about the game I didn't like. But I knew I didn't enjoy it. So I took it back and got Modern Warfare 2. This one was a lot more enjoyable for me, but only for about a week. Then I was already bored of it. I figured at this point I just wasn't in the mood to play it. So I set it aside and figured I'd play it another time. Over time I'd play Modern Warfare 2, but I'd only play it a little bit, 1 or 2 rounds, and then that's it. And then came Black Ops. I figured, okay, this one has to be good. At first I thought the same people were making both versions of Call of Duty. When I heard that a different company made World at War and Black Ops, I figured maybe this one will be a lot better. So I sold Modern Warfare 2 and I got Black Ops. Same exact thing. Play it a few days, and then I got bored of it again. At this point, I didn't think I was bored of shooters, I just thought I was bored of Call of Duty in general. A few months later, Killzone 3 was released. I figured I would at least like this game more than I did Black Ops. And I did. In one of my older videos, I even mentioned that. It was fun. For about a week and a half. At this point, I was starting to see what was happening. And I wanted to test it out and be sure. So I stopped buying shooters and started renting them. I tried out Resistance 2, then MAG, and then when it came out, Resistance 3. And they all felt the same way. This is when I pretty much knew why I couldn't get into any of these shooters. They all felt the same to me. I could only run around and shoot so much until they all started to become repetitive. This is also when I realized a lot of games we got this generation were pretty much run and shoot, be it first or third person, adventure or RPG. Hell, one of my favorite franchises pretty much turned into a shooter. This is why I started to feel like shooters were ruining this generation. From my perspective, they were starting to turn everything I liked into everything I hate. If shooters hadn't really taken over like they did, I'm pretty sure they probably wouldn't have bothered me. But if I'm going to say this, then I also have to admit my own hypocrisy. Yes, it's true, if this gen had been flooded with RPGs, fighting, strategy, or racing games, you'd never really hear one complaint from me. But I think the reason why I'm not as picky about other genres is because the different games of those genres don't feel the same way to me. 2 of my favorite racing games this gen are Gran Turismo 5 and Mario Kart Wii. They're both racing games, yes. And in the end you have the same goal of getting first place. However, the way you go about it in both games are completely different. And because of this, I like both Gran Turismo 5 and Mario Kart Wii for completely different reasons. However, if Nintendo had made Mario Kart look more realistic, took away the items, and gave you real racing tracks, I would have found it boring, as it would have felt less like a Mario Kart game and instead a wannabe Gran Turismo game. And since I've already got Gran Turismo, I'd have felt it pointless to own Mario Kart Wii. Also, I think the fact that I'm more picky about what games I get now play a part in it. How many of you are more picky now as adults than you were when you were kids? Where as a kid, the fact that it was a video game alone was enough reason to get it. But now games can get boring real fast if you don't get the right one. I think what made first-person shooters more fun for me in the past was the fact that they weren't all over the place. How many times can someone get excited about a game that's pretty much going to have you run around and shoot? I can only do that so much before I start thinking, yeah, I gotta play something else. That's why every time I bought a new shooter, I always sold the other one. As I go back to GameStop to sell it and hear some dumbass tell me, would you like to pre-order the next random run and shoot game? And I stand there with my fist balled up wanting to hit him square in his damn face. From my perspective, owning two shooters means owning two of the same thing. I know other people see shooters in a different way. I just sadly can't share the same perspective as them. As of right now, I only own one shooter on my PS3, and that's Crysis 2. I still play it here and there, but I'll never play it for hours and hours like I will other games, or days and days when Diablo 3 comes out. But who knows? Maybe there is a shooter out there for me, and I just haven't found it yet. I'll say this much though. This game is definitely for me.